Welcome back. Chapter 10, Formatting a Document. In the last chapter, one of the assignments was for you to create a Word document, in this case the Gettysburg Address, and all I wanted you to do was to simply type the document, no formatting, no special characters, nothing fancy, just basically type or copy and paste the document from the web into a Word document and save it as you can see here, gettysburgaddress.docx. Now we're going to open that document and do some formatting. Right now it's okay, it's decent, it looks okay, but we want to add some fancy formatting to make it look a little bit more presentable. If you notice in your textbook on page 157, they say how do I select different fonts, font sizes, and text colors. Well, in this particular case, the font that we're using is Calibri size 11. I want something a little bit more than that, so I'm going to highlight the body of the Gettysburg Address. I'm going to change it to let's do Arial. No, I don't like Arial black. That looks okay. We can do it too. We'll do a Times New Roman, which looks a little bit more fancy, And instead of an 11-point font, I'm going to go up to a 14-point font. Now you'll notice the document itself automatically resizes. The word wrap automatically wraps the new sentences. Because the document text is bigger, the amount of space that's taken up by the document itself is obviously going to be bigger as well. So you can easily go in and either use the ribbon or select the particular text, and in the little pop-up menu that comes you can select different fonts and so forth. You can always go back to the original by simply undo. I can undo twice and get back to the way it was from the beginning. So I have different text attributes, bold, italic, underline, text color, for example. If I wanted this particular sentence to have a green text and this particular paragraph to use a red text, I can quickly and easily change the text color. I can also select highlighting. So I'm going to highlight that second paragraph and choose to highlight it purple. And I can do a lot of different things with the text attributes. Understand that let me change these back. Understand that some fonts can be quite difficult to read. For example, if I highlight the first paragraph and change it to some sort of a script style font, while it looks beautiful, it can be quite difficult to read unless you blow the font size up to a pretty good size. And in this case, I'm on 28 point, and even at 28 point, it's still kind of tough to read. So be careful with that. Some fonts are more readable than others, and certainly while they may look beautiful, they're very, very difficult for other folks to read in the long run. You can set things like strike through. Let's say if this were a draft copy, maybe you could strike through that. That would give you a strike through line. You could create subscripts and superscripts. Maybe this is doing some sort of footnoting, so I can make a superscript and call it superscript 34, or vice versa, subscript, and make it subscript 23, something along those lines. So you have the ability with all this formatting that's right here to be able to do a lot of different things. I can center the contents of the document by using the paragraph section of the home ribbon. I can center it, make it right justified, left justified, or full justified. I can change the background color. I can set borders around the outsides. I can do all sorts of really, really neat things. And the point of it is, like I said in the last chapter, you're better off, at least in my opinion, you're better off to type the entire document, get the entire document done, and then go back and add your formatting. I have found that that's just a little bit easier. To each their own, but I have found that that's just a little bit easier. Now let's say I want to take Abraham Lincoln's name. I can change the fonts, change the font color, use the font dialog box. If you'll notice up here under the home section of the ribbon, in the font portion, in the bottom right, I can click on that, and that will give me the font dialog box. And I can choose from, strike through, all caps hidden, small caps. You have a lot of different things. You'll notice here it changes it to an all caps, but they're smaller. every one of these pieces of the ribbon generally have their own dialog box that will pop out. If you don't like the spacing, you can change the spacing, you can change the line breaks and so forth and so on. But you can also include what's called word art. So if I go to the Insert tab, I have all of these different items that are here. Moving all the way over to the right, I have word art. And that I can use to create some really neat effects, almost like a shadowy effect or something along those lines. I can give it a border. There's a lot of different effects that I can add. Rather than creating a video that could literally be 2 weeks long, rather than doing that to try to show you all the different things that Word can do, the best thing to do is just to practice. Create a document, go in there, practice, play with it. No matter what you do, you can undo it. So if you'll notice here beside the undo button, you can see all the different things that have been done to this document. And I can choose where I want, and I can undo several actions at one time, or I can redo several actions at one time. If you'll notice the space between each letter, if you take the F and the O here in 4, the space between each letter is known as the kerning, K-E-R-N-I-N-G, and this is an advanced font. So if I go to the Font tab, to the Font dialog box, I can go under the Advanced tab and edit the kerning for fonts. For fonts above, let's say fonts above 10, I can adjust the spacing in between the characters. That's a neat feature, especially when you're dealing with some of those script fonts or some of the fancier fonts. It can be a little bit difficult, letters run together. It can be quite difficult to make those readable, but with that you're able to make some changes. Likewise, as I said before, you can do centering, right justified, left justified, full justification if you want to choose that. Maybe even choose a style. So for example, if I highlight Abraham Lincoln's name, I can make it a title, a heading, no spacing, a subtitle, strong. You have all of these different styles that are up here across the ribbon, and if those aren't enough, as usual, you can click on the little dialog box and you get all of these different pop-outs that are available as well. Plus you can scroll down and take a look at different ones. You can create your own style. If there's a particular style that you like but you're not sure if you want it, you can actually create your own style. That gives you a couple more options. So just play around with it. Keep playing with it, see what you can come up with. As I said, there's really no way that I can tell you every single thing that there is to know about in Microsoft Word. So there's no way I can do that. It's better off for you just to get out there and play with it. Let's just say that these 3 paragraphs were items in a list. Now, one of the things that you need to be aware of is there's basically 2 different types of lists. There's what's called a numbered list, and that would be this one up here at the top. You have number 1, number 2, number 3. And then there's what's called a bulleted list or an unordered list. When I click that, I get 3 different bullets. Now in Microsoft Word, I'm not stuck with just your typical circular bullets. I can actually change and have arrows, check marks, fancy little shapes and so forth. I have a lot of different options for the bulleting. Likewise, same thing for the numbering. If I choose to make it a numbered list, I can choose Roman numerals, numbers with periods, numbers with parentheses, letters, uppercase and lowercase. There's just tons of different options if you want to do Roman numerals. And this might be a good way if I were trying to memorize this for a speech. I could memorize, Roman numeral 1, 2, and 3 individually. And as you go along, if I have Roman numeral 1, anything that I put under Roman numeral 1, when I press the tab key, it automatically indents that list. So I have Roman numeral 1, little letter A, type some items in, indent again, I have little I, indent again, I have number 1, and you can see it will automatically follow the indentation as you go along. It's a really, really easy, neat way to create outlines, not only for your English papers or for your literature documents. It's a good way to keep notes in class. I have found that keeping an outline, using outline format to keep notes, or if I'm an instructor to write notes in class, seems to be an easier way for me to be able to deliver the material. So moving right along in Chapter 10, you can adjust your line spacing. If you'll notice, there's a double space between each paragraph, but the items that are within, the sentences that are within a single paragraph, may be a little too far spaced for you. In the paragraph section of the home ribbon, you can come here and change the spacing to be 1.0, 1.1, 1.15, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3.0, or anything in between. So let's say we want to go with a 1.0. Anything that I highlight from here, I'm going to highlight all 3 paragraphs, and I'm going to change that to be 1.0. That automatically affected all the items in all 3 paragraphs. So I can go through and I can use that. I can create tabs. Let's say I want a tab that will be right there at the 1/2 inch mark. I can see the little L, that means the left tab. If I come over here to the right at the 6 mark, and I can pull up my tabs dialog box and make my 6 be a right tab. It goes back to the left. That one goes kind of back to the right. I can change all of these different tabs. So as I'm going along, and I have found that you're much better off to create your tabs before you begin your document. But you can do all sorts of things with your tab. If you look on page 165 in your textbook, you have left tab, right tab, center tab, decimal tab, bar tab. If I'm creating a table of contents for my document, using a decimal tab is pretty neat because it gives me the ability. Let me create a decimal tab real quick and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to create a left tab on the left, and then over at the 6 inch mark, I'm going to create I tell you what, I'll do at the 5 inch mark. I'm going to create at the 5 inch mark what's known as a decimal tab, and I'm going to put dots as the leaders. So now anything that I type here, let's say I said chapter 1 introduction, when I press the tab key, it automatically gives me all of the decimals and it puts me at the 5 mark. So I'm able to type in that's going to begin at page 2, come to chapter 2, about me, press tab, I automatically go over there. And as you notice, hopefully you notice that as I'm typing my page number, the page number begins on the right hand side and works back to the left. So that way I'm able to keep all of my page numbering right justified, and I can easily create a table of contents for my document. It's going to make it's going to look really good. So let me get rid of these. Go back to my original Gettysburg Address document. What about indentation? Now, most of us grew up with the idea that paragraphs are indented. The first line of a paragraph is indented 1/2 inch. So if I select the entire body of text and create a 1/2 inch tab, now when I come to the beginning of each paragraph, I can press the tab key and I get my 1/2 inch indent for each one of the paragraphs. Likewise, if I wanted it to be a little further left, maybe instead of 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch, you notice as I move that mark, it automatically moves the items in the paragraph. Again, in order to affect the entire document, I would need to select the entire document and move those over. Moving right along, what about footnotes? And this is where you really get neat as to what Microsoft Word will do. In your book on page 167, you'll find out all the information about creating footnotes, as well as outlines, tables, items such as inside of the document. Now this particular video doesn't go into great detail on how to do those things, but just know that they are inside of the references, and it really depends on what style. If you're typing a paper in MLA style, you're going to use one type of indentation and one type of reference. If you're typing in APA, it's a different type of reference. So there's all these different ones. Turabian is one of the ones that's in there. So you have all these different reference types that are built inside of Microsoft Word. It's just a matter of which reference type do you want to use. All of that information and more is inside of your textbook, as I said, beginning on page 167, and hopefully you'll have a chance to go through that and look. We are not working specifically with research papers here, so we're not going to go through that. We're going to focus the majority of our efforts on the document creation and finalization, being that of a resume and a cover letter. But we'll get more into that into the next chapter.